Well, here we go. Video number 4, and in this one, we just want to spend some time talking about cultural humility. Cultural humility. Sometimes it's called cultural awareness. Sometimes it's called cultural sensitivity. But we want to keep driving home this concept of humility, and that we walk in as people who are humble into a situation that is not our home, but we want to be able to bring the good news of Jesus Christ, or to recognize where Jesus already exists in those communities. And so, cultural humility. Here's the deal: you know that there's going to be difference, right? You are getting ready to get on a plane and go to Guatemala. You're going to go to the Gambia. Or you're going to go wherever. You know that there's going to be difference, but honestly, it is deeper than you and I even know, because it's deeper than what we see. You see, the reason for that is because values drive us. Values drives every single one of us, and we often don't even realize it. So, yes, the food is going to be different. Yes, the language is probably going to be different. The money is going to look and feel different. They may even drive on the wrong side of the road. You've heard people say that, but it's not the wrong side. It's a different side of the road. But here's the deal. It's deeper than food and the way the money looks and the musical tastes and that kind of stuff. It goes much deeper than that. And we mostly are just not aware of it. We're not aware of those values that drive us. And so when we see something, we often make assumptions. Oh, I know why they're doing that. I know why they think that way. And yet, don't we hate it when people make assumptions about us? And so here's what we want to do. We want to spend a little bit of time talking about that, because there's a really good chance that you're going to get frustrated. At first, you're going to be wide-eyed and in awe of the difference, and you're going to love it, but then it can quickly turn into a frustration, and we can also have a tendency to judge. We can tendency to make moral judgments on things that we see. So here's some helpful hints. Follow the cues. Follow the cues. When people don't make, in the whatever country you're going to, they don't make prolonged eye contact, and you notice it and you see it and you think, wow, I wonder why that person did that. And then you notice it in another person and you notice it in another person. So I would just say, be aware, look for the cues, and then be able to check it. Like, okay, I saw that there. Why might I see that over here? It's really interesting. When you ask someone where something is, they don't point, or they point using a different finger or a different motion. Okay, there's another cue of something that is different. Everybody hugs around this place. All right, that tells me something. Or, interesting, nobody touches. Again, you're just paying attention to some of these kind of things. Articles of clothing. Wow. I mean, even though it's hot here, they seem to wear long sleeve shirts all the time. Or, it's so hot, why don't they wear shorts? There might be a reason. The volume of conversation. Why is it that it just seems to be so loud all the time? There's so much to be aware of and to begin to pay attention to. And so here's what I'm saying. Do some research before you go. It's the glory of the internet, right? Or ChatGPT, something like that. And just Google customs in the country that you're going to. And you begin to look and you see, now listen to me, we don't just use what we read on the internet, but we use it as a base to help us understand. And now we might become more aware of some of those type of things. And so what happens is, after you've done a little bit of research, there's some things you just need to be aware of. So here are some cultural values. People who study cultures and look at nations across the globe, they see these things, and here are some of the cultural values that could trip you up and could trip me up. Number 1, time orientation. Not everybody in the globe sees time the same way. Now sure, 1 o'clock is 1 o'clock, and 4 o'clock is 4 o'clock, unless you use military time. But what I mean by that is, in America, what do we say? Here's a phrase. You've heard this before. Time is money. Time is money. Well, that is mostly a U.S. idea. Most countries, listen to me, it's not rude if you're late. In fact, it would actually be rude to the person prior to you if they were to leave that conversation to be able to make it to your conversation on time. So time orientation. And, man, I do this all the time. I have a tendency to make value judgments on that. Well, they must not appreciate me, or they must not think. It has nothing to do with that. And these are not right and wrong things. That's another one that's really, really hard, especially for those of us who like to be on time. It's not all right. So patience, 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 patience. So, like, here's a scenario. Your team is scheduled to meet with a local pastor at 10 a.m. and you arrive on time. In fact, you're a good American, so you arrive early, and you're there, and the pastor doesn't show up till 10:45, 45 minutes late. But instead of apologizing, he just warmly, or she just warmly greets you and invites you to sit down and have a talk. You see? Instantly inside of us, there's a thing that says, you said 10 o'clock and it's 10:45. But it all has to do with a little bit of understanding of time and how they see time. So a U.S. response might be, why weren't you there on time? Even if we don't say it, because we know that we're a guest. But see, for maybe the country that they're going to, time is relational. It's not rigid. And the delay may have been because of some really, really important conversation or somebody that was in front of them in that moment. And again, to them, to us, it's late. It's rude when they show up late. To them, it would be rude to leave that conversation to make it over to ours. Number two, communication styles. In the United States, we tend to be, I'm kind of around the bush guy, but we tend to be very direct. And people, they value clarity and efficiency in communication. Maybe you've had this with somebody, they're reading a book and they're like, well, it's a 300-page book, but they really could have said it in 150. So what happens is we want to the point and clarity of communication, where most places in the world, that's honestly, it has more to do with indirect communication. And harmony is way more important than saying something directly. In fact, to them, we may say some things that we don't mean for it to be rude, but it is rude to them. So I would say watch out for nonverbal cues. Begin to try to read between the lines when you see certain things. And then begin to come up with some hypotheses. Why is it that I think that is the case? Okay, so how about here's another scenario. So a church leader in the host country where you're at, ask if your team can visit a school tomorrow. And even though you know that your schedule is already too packed, instead of saying no, you may say something like this, well, we'll try. And then the leader gets upset when you don't show up. And what we want to say is, well, I didn't commit. I said we would try. But see, a local perspective is, well, we'll try means a polite way of saying yes. So we just want to be clear in our communication with them. Again, we're trying not to be rude. We're trying not to be too direct. So we say we will try, but try means you'll be there. And so then you can see how that can cause some of the frustration. So what's our best approach? Man, be gracious. Always be gracious. And if you can't commit, then just say something like, well, we would love to, but we don't want to promise, and then the fact we'd have to disappoint you. You see what I mean? You can still do it in a polite way, but you don't leave any expectations or ambiguity that you're for sure going to be there. How about hospitality and personal space? In the United States, we love our personal space. We love privacy, and we want to see those kind of things happen all of the time. And hospitality. We love to be hospitable to people when we know they're coming and when we've had time to prepare. But see, everywhere else in the world, hospitality is more spontaneous and it's very generous, over the top. And they're going to say, stay longer, stay longer. In fact, the generosity that you are going to experience in whatever country you're going to go to is actually going to end up making you feel uncomfortable at times. Because you're going to know that in your pocket you have more money possibly than these people have in a month. And yet, what do? They offer you hospitality and food and kindness. So these are things you just got to be aware of. It's going to make you uncomfortable. And I'm kind of glad. We've got to figure out how to deal with it. So, scenario. So, a local family that you're there and you met, they invite you over for dinner. You are there for an hour and a half, and you start getting antsy. And so you're looking at your watch, and all of a sudden you start to stand to leave, and they're actually offended. Why aren't you staying longer? They must have done something wrong in their mind. So again, we're just paying attention. So what you do is you begin to think, when you're thinking about your schedule, care less about the schedule and more about the people. And I know, but you're like, but the schedule's important because there's more people but care more about the people than the schedule. And then how about wealth and generosity? You see, wealth in the United States is often seen as a result of hard work and individuality, and I did this. And our giving is structured. We think about it through nonprofits or through organizations. But in other cultures, wealth is often a shared community asset. And generosity is expected, even for those who have very little. So there's an expectation of giving. And even if I don't have enough for myself, I might share it with you because that's what is expected. So maybe you've got a child that you ended up kind of falling in love with on the trip, and you see them and you spend time with them, and then they ask you for your watch. They see your watch, and then all of a sudden you're not sure what to do because you hesitate because you're like, I spent a lot of money on this watch. But then all of a sudden you're watching other people interact and what they give. So what do you do with that? Now, here's something that I found that's a really good trick of the trade is a lot of times when I travel, I take things with me. Maybe I take a bag of candy. Maybe I take little trinkets from the United States that I can pass out as a gift and to say thank you. So honestly, these are just some of the things. There's more. Religion and how religion is thought about and how religion is looked at. There's things about authority. What do you do with authority? We think that we have the right and the responsibility to talk up to authority and say stuff to them all the time, whereas in other countries, you just don't do that. So these are just some of the things, right? So what happened is, what do we do with this? And I'm telling you, the best thing is to have cultural humility. Ask really good questions. Don't ask demeaning questions like, why do you guys do that? You could say something like, well, you know what? Back where I'm from, and I noticed that you see what I mean? There's just different ways to be able to do it that says, listen, I care about you. I'm noticing a difference, and I want to discover what it means. So I would say study up, come prepared, be inquisitive, ask a lot of questions in kindness. Don't make moral judgments on things where moral judgments do not belong. And just be ready to be culturally walking into all these situations with humility. And ask God for the wisdom to know when to ask a question and when not. All of this stuff we're doing is not to scare you, not to be like, well, now I don't even know what to do. It's just to say, how can we have cultural humility as we think about what it is that God has asked us to go and to do in this country. So I can't wait to hear the stories. I can't wait for you to talk about the times you messed up and you didn't mean to, and then just how you saw the kindness and the gentleness of the people that you're going to serve. So we're going in with eyes wide open, ready to learn, ready to engage.